California Representative Adam Schiff, he's the ranking Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee. He supports this nuclear deal with Iran. What do you say to Donald Trump, Congressman? He's obviously says this is a bad deal for the United States.
Well, I think if you look at the deal, it precludes Iran from gaining the bomb. It makes it, I think, practically impossible for them to develop a covert enrichment capability over the next 15 or more years. So I disagree strongly with Mr. Trump, but look, he's running for president, and it's not the first outlandish thing that he has said. It won't be the last. But I think if you give it a thoughtful analysis, this agreement has much to like and much not to like, but on balance, it's better than any credible alternative. And I think rejection by Congress would leave us isolated and leave Iran's nuclear program unconstrained going into the future.
I want to get your reaction to this move afoot among some Republicans in the House of Representatives to delay a vote. It was supposed to be this week, a vote on a resolution of disapproval against the Iran nuclear deal. Some of them are now saying that 60-day clock for congressional consideration was supposed to begin a couple months ago. It hasn't even started because the White House has not turned over all relevant material to Congress. What's your reaction to that?
Well, it's, I have to say, a bit baffling because in the Senate, the GOP is arguing we need to have a vote on this. There can't be a filibuster in this. And in the House, effectively, Republicans are threatening to filibuster a vote on the agreement. So it's baffling. I do think it's quite a strained interpretation to say that the Corker legislation would require that the President submit to Congress an agreement that the IAEA is precluded from even sharing with the administration. But the reality is, and I don't think the GOP members are fooling anyone, even if they were to get this agreement with the IAEA, it's not as if that would change their minds. It's not as if having this agreement would suddenly cause them to vote for it. Nobody expects that to happen at all. So this is merely, I think, a distraction that's not in our national interest to delay this debate and delay having a final up or down, or at least a vote on the agreement in one form or fashion.
Well, very quickly, because I want to move on and talk about the refugees flooding Europe right now, but very quickly, some of these Republicans say this tactical maneuver, the 60-day clock hasn't started, and the administration can't unilaterally ease sanctions against Iran without that 60-day clock being over. With your point.
Well, my point is I think the 60-day clock is over. I don't think it's a fair reading of the Corker bill to say it contemplates a requirement that the administration turn over something that the IAEA hasn't given it and by its own rules can't give the administration. So I think the administration will have the power to release the sanctions and go forward with the agreement. And I think for the United States to be in the position of reneging on a compact agreed to by the other world powers will only isolate us. It will only cause the sanctions regime to erode. And Iran will get many of the benefits of the deal in terms of its access to world markets with none of the limits of the deal on its nuclear program. So I think a rejection, whether it takes the form of this delay in the House, this putting off, or some kind of a actual overriding the president's veto, either way, I think it's a disservice to our national security interests.
You've seen, Congressman, the dramatic pictures of these refugees from Syria, Iraq, North Africa, flooding Europe right now. Secretary Kerry said today the U.S. is looking into ways to take in more refugees. There are concerns, though, as you well know, and you're a member of the Intelligence Committee, that ISIS could potentially be trying to sneak some ISIS activists disguised as refugees into the United States. Is that a serious security concern?
It's certainly a serious security concern. But I think that's a security concern that we can address and have to address and can't be used as justification for not doing our part to help this humanitarian relief effort. 2 years ago, I led an effort here in Congress, a bipartisan effort, to seek to allow the humanitarian parole of a substantial number of Syrian immigrants who already have family-based petitions approved. So these with family in the United States who had their petitions already approved, but because of visa limits can't get to be reunited with their families here in the United States. I'm renewing that effort now. It's a way I think we can show consistent with our security needs, and all the security checks will have to be done, but consistent with that to show that we are doing our part to meet the humanitarian crisis.
Congressman Schiff, thanks very much for